Really excited to be here. We're the graveyard shift. I thought the room might be empty by now and everyone's like trying to get a beer, but so glad that you're all here. I'm Shane Murphy-Reuter. I'm the CMO Webflow. Yeah, so maybe we go along the line and just introduce yourselves, your company and the role at your company would be great.
Sure.
Sarah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Varney. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at a company called Attentive. We do B2B, we're a B2B software company focused on SMS marketing, sell to a lot of e-commerce or retail brands, and that's me.
Hi, I'm Nathan Pratt. I'm Global Marketing Director at IDEO, and we're a global design firm, and my primary responsibilities are digital and digital marketing with our marketing team and our business development team. So.
Yeah, I'm Michael Harrington. I'm the Director of Web Marketing for Bill. We're a financial operations platform for SMBs and accounting firms. And yeah, the SEO, CRO, all of the web marketing initiatives roll up under me.
Love it. Thank you. Well, one of the reasons we're all here today is to talk a bit more about how the web and Webflow within that, but the web more broadly works within sort of larger scaling organizations. And so maybe we would just start with a little bit with your journey to Webflow and how it changed the way in which you operate within your companies. Now, Sarah, I know that you joined Attentive while Webflow had already been, you were already using Webflow, but maybe you could kick off with like your experience in other companies before Webflow and like how that's changed.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So prior to Attentive, I was a CMO at Twilio for 4 years. And as you can imagine, it's a very developer-centric culture, and given that they're focused on developer APIs. So when I started at Attentive, I said, all right, well, I'm looking at my org chart. I'm like, well, where are our developers? And my head of brand said, well, we don't have any. And I said, oh, well, then they report into R&D, or like, where are they at the company? They're like, no, we don't have any. And I'm like, oh, like this is very different. At Twilio, I had at least five people just dedicated developers to our website and keeping it up and running. We even felt strained with that amount of resources. So it was just really incredible to come and run a team where that was not, part of our mix or something I really had to worry about. And we do use an outsourced agency for certain work that's more complicated or more sophisticated, but for the most part, we're able to do a ton and process thousands of leads and millions of dollars of pipeline with no developers, which is really powerful.
Put it on the billboard. I like that. Nathan, how about yourself?
Yeah, so at IDEO, we obviously like to push design really, really far. And so we've always, I think, historically wanted to have custom code be able to do that because there's been so many limitations with no code. And I think when I joined IDEO about a year ago, we looked at that and just thought, our website in general is actually really simple, but it has those design needs. And so we looked at Webflow and it just made a ton of sense. But it's been a process. We joined our enterprise agreement in March of this year and just migrated probably 800, 900 blogs and case studies over, and we're able to create some really, really cool layouts with that. So it's been a huge game changer for us, and we no longer have to have external resources for development time, which kind of hurt us there, and so now we can do everything internally. So it's been a huge game changer.
Love that.
Yeah, so over the last few years, Bill has done a number of strategic acquisitions, and with each of those acquisitions came a new web stack, a new process. Everyone was not perfect. We had the Bill website was on Contentful, which is very much dev reliant. Our devs were spending a lot of their bandwidth building pages, which is not where your devs should be focused. The Divi site historically was built on WordPress, which also has its limitations. And so as we went through this and looked at building our strategy of what is the ideal, what should web look like, we made our wish list ahead of time and said, agnostic of any platform, these are our need to haves. This is where we want to be. And I was skeptical that we would get close to that. And then we found Webflow. I was like, wait, it can be this easy? And since launching, we've been able to free up our dev resources to focus on more things that are dev reliant, around the data layer and all of the custom integrations and all these areas where my team is fully empowered to not only build pages, but build pages flexibly, build pages at speed. So our time to market is better than it's ever been before, and we're building more creatively, more scalably, and even enabling other stakeholders in marketing to have access and be able to build pages as well.
Love that. And one of the things we've actually been trying to figure out is companies have started to adopt Webflow. There's a bit of a change in sort of roles and responsibilities, right? Before you kind of had your designer, designed a flat image, handed it over to a developer, and there was very clear lines of delineation there. And now you've kind of got this hybrid roles. And so we'd love to hear a bit more about how you think about organizing your team around executing for the website. And maybe as you answer that, also how you've thought about leveraging agencies. There's a lot of agencies in the audience. I'm sure they'd love to understand a bit more about how you think about how to organize yourselves internally and when to leverage an agency.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of boils down to what your go-to-market motion is as a company. So at Attentive, we're very much a sales-assisted motion. We're not known as like a PLG type software company where you'd come to the site, swipe a credit card and be off into the races. We definitely have human intervention to get you up and running on our service. And so in that sense, like where in a self-service model, the weighting might be like, all right, this needs to be 70% performance driven of a site and 25% brand. We're much more 50-50. And so when I think about it from my purview, like I know you're asking more in the details of like how do you set up the intricacies within the web team, but from my purview, running the full team, I'm very careful to make sure there's not an over-rotation towards brand or performance, and that there's some checks and balances so that not just the like loudest person in these planning meetings kind of takes over, and then we look at the site and it's this gobbledygook of CTAs because the performance marketer got a hand on the site and didn't kind of took it and ran with it and didn't consult brand. So that's kind of my main role in being a policewoman and making sure that everyone's kind of playing nicely. But yeah, I mean, I think like in terms of like how Webflow has changed how we think about actually delivering new content and getting out on the site, I definitely think there's more of a focus on program management that we probably didn't have the luxury to staff, when we had to make room for more development resources. And I just feel like it's not completely fair because my world at Attentive is a little bit simpler than it was at Twilio, which was a larger organization, but I do feel like we're much more organized and thoughtful about how we're able to roadmap things and really get in front of them.
Interesting. At Webflow, one of the roles we created this year was a website product manager for that exact reason, so that there was a central point of somebody who owned the web roadmap that PMM, brand, growth could all come to, and we could make sure that we were balancing it. It really helps on that, so it's interesting. Nathan, how about yourself? How are you set up that way?
Yeah, so for us, like when we looked at web before, I think it's a very transactional thing. Like we needed this change, the change was submitted. We had our external developers take care of it, and we had tech involved with that also. And as we've like migrated into Webflow, it's become a little bit more of a conversation. And so we've got an internal team that's able to make those iterations and changes with our designers in-house. And then if we need something like very large scale, spun up quickly, then we use an external resource to take care of that, just for timing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Love it. Michael.
Yeah, it's really been an opportunity to look at web as kind of the hub, more of like a hub and spoke model off to these other teams. And so with web as that centerpiece, and then freeing up the devs to again focus on work that my team cannot execute on the dev side of things, and then also empowering our creative studio to realize their vision on the website more accurately than they've been able to in the past, because and today there are even more things announced about how closely tied Figma is to Webflow. We use Figma. And so seeing that integration deepen and the ability to say, this is our vision in Figma, directly replicated in Webflow, and seeing that. And then also having my team, again, similar to Nathan, that transactional relationship in the past, like it is more of a conversation, and with the CMS in Webflow and the collections, we're able to build spaces, little walled gardens for our other stakeholders to operate with a higher level of autonomy than they've been able to in the past, because the traditional model, if you give too much autonomy, but there's too much flexibility, then it causes havoc down the road. But where we can create a collection and say, hey, this is your collection, go build your campaign landing pages here, go build your blogs here. It is that beautifully walled garden that allows them to operate autonomously as well. And so it's interesting how it empowers each person to do their role better and then frees up my team to be more strategic within the web space.
Yeah, that makes tons of sense. It's big. Two things you touched on there are a big priority for us over the next sort of year or so. Is one, today you saw variables. So the idea of being able to create sort of design systems and then have that your team use them across sites so they don't go too far off piece. And then collaboration roles and permissions, right? Who's allowed to do what? So I think you've seen a lot of progress over the last year, but we know there's more to go there. So that's great. Pivoting a bit away from like team and how you're organized to website performance. I think most people in the room are probably responsible for something to do with website performance. Any like over the last year or so, any big changes you've made that you think has had a big impact on your website performance from a like just not necessarily like SEO performance, but actually like delivery for the business? It'd be awesome to hear any advice you have.
I would start with that down the row, and I will.
We're going this way. Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
I mean, I know you talked about not SEO specifically, but really looking at, I know we talked about this recently as well, but the shift in that transactional fulfillment-based web, and actually, I report through the VP of growth, and I think the closer you can tie web and web initiatives to money, to the dollars, even to the point of giving your web team a quota, the closer you can tie those initiatives there, it does shift the perspective of even your SEOs. Like it moves past that historic, archaic model of SEO where it's like, here are rankings for the sake of rankings, and shifting that to how do these rankings actually trickle down? Like rankings are still a valuable leading indicator, but how do you actually trickle that down? And then similarly, when we look at the testing program, it doesn't stop at how many leads I generate, it's how many of those leads actually converted down funnel, how much of that is actually trickling in. And so as we've continued to deepen that perspective on web, we've seen those wins. And then just a quick plug for Webflow.
I'm doing my best not to plug Webflow, but you go ahead.
But from a testing perspective, one of the challenges historically is you run a test in a vacuum on a specific landing page, and you have a win there, and then that page performs incrementally better. But when you have these design systems, even better with variables, when you can deepen that even further and you can say, I'm testing this element on this page, sure, I'll test it on these 2 or 3 other pages to validate this result. But then just like that, the entire site, you propagate those changes everywhere, and then you see the entire site move past incremental gains to step level changes.
Love that. All right, there we are. Our head of sales, Kai, was very excited yesterday when you explained how marketing should have a quota. I was like, I'm like, brand. Anyway, no, we should. It's very, very important. Nathan, how about you?
Yeah, I think for us, like speed is really, really important. Not only site optimization and speed, but also design to development to production time. I think for us, that was a huge improvement from going from a custom CMS into Webflow is we're able to design something, approve it, and then get it into production within hours instead of weeks and months, which is great. We also display giant assets all over the place with videos and images, and so I think that optimization of just converting those images and how they display in certain times has really helped us not only with like user experience, but actual optimization for the web. I know it's a big thing with SEO, so I think for us that's, if I were to pin it around something, it'd be speed, so internal development time and site optimization time.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of customers being able to iterate and like today we launched localization, obviously, which is a big step towards the ability to tailor the website experience to different audiences. And so there's a lot of more we can do there, I think, but a lot of our customers, because they can move faster, it means that they can have many, many different experiences for the different types of site traffic and those sort of things. And we think a lot about when we go to market about the degree to which we should lean into the story of the sort of efficiency of cost savings that you've all talked about around how free up your developers and that sort of thing versus the sort of growth that you can drive from it. So it's interesting to see you've been able to do both. How about yourself, Sarah?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, it's definitely been a year where every marketer's been asked to do more with less, and we had to focus on tactics that were going to have a very high ROI, especially when we look at things like a big measure for us is efficiency, pipeline efficiency. And so I'm always looking at what is my pipeline to spend ratio. And so for us, when it comes to our website, that means like how can I make sure every person that comes to the site that is of good quality is going to convert, get to the right salesperson, and convert in a timely manner. So we definitely have been focusing a lot on things like form shortening, and we've also deployed chat in the last year to figure out, all right, how can we make sure this person gets to the right place? If they have a support question, let's make sure they go to support, and really trying to make it as frictionless as possible. On the Webflow side, we have similar tactics to Bill. We have a concept called super pages. I don't know if that's a universal term or just something that's Attentive TM. But we have a concept at least that we talk about internally called super pages, where we will test out certain sections, and if they're performing well, we'll roll that out more globally. So any place we can squeak out, even a 0.5% of conversion is going to have a dramatic effect downstream, and so that's been where we've been really focused this year.
Love that. On that same theme around experimentation, obviously getting a bit more performance out of the website is critical. How in your teams have you created both a culture of experimentation, but also then like tooled it from a people perspective and actual tools, right? You need A/B testing tools, the ability to kind of see what's working or not. We'd love to get a sense of just like how you ensure that culture is there, and then also how you actually implement it from a tool and people perspective. Maybe Nathan, we'll start with you.
Oh, great.
You didn't see that one come down. I've been going up and down. I mean, at some point, I'm just going to go. I
kind of win this one because IDEO is basically experimentation. Doing design. That's all. Iteration is really what our focus is always looking at what we've done before and do it again and do it better the next time, or do it a different way. And so Webflow is still new, I think, to us, and so we are still adapting that, but we're starting to see it globally that other employees there are wanting to pick up Webflow and get their hands in and start building stuff and attach different things to it to see how they can break it or make it better. And so for us, we're constantly experimenting, but Webflow has actually given us a tool to be able to say, instead of going out and finding random other systems to use, we're able to use Webflow for that. So we're just kind of pulling them all together and adapting them to that is what we're doing. So,
Michael, how about yourself?
Yeah, similarly, I'm grateful for the culture of experimentation that Bill has as well. It's the first thing is just giving permission to try new things, to go outside of what box has been created in the past. And then the other thing is the tooling. Webflow is obviously extremely flexible, like I talked about. It gives us the ability to build at speed. But in the actual human side of it, it's really kind of the trifecta between, I have a dedicated CRO manager who is best in class. He runs the very robust experimentation program, but in very close partnership with a designer who, they have a close partnership on building these new designs and getting really creative with it. And then on the third kind of pillar there is the analytics and having direct support from our team of analysts who can help to make sure that we have the systems in place to build a report. And again, not just report the web metric side of it, but actually report full funnel and pass those variables all the way through. And if we're doing end-to-end tests in partnership with product, then we need to make sure that the product team can ingest those variable values. And so it gets increasingly complex when you do look full funnel, and you need to have those different pieces in place from a human standpoint to be able to facilitate it and report back on it.
Love that. How about yourself, Sarah?
I agree with Michael on the cultural elements. I think the first part is de-risking it, making people feel safe to try. You're not going to get fired if this doesn't go the way that we expected. I mean, it's you laugh, but some people are just completely in fear to really try anything new. So I really try to foster that culture. I also try to celebrate both. Maybe we don't do a huge victory lap around losses, but I definitely celebrate where people took a risk and make a big deal about it, make sure it gets on the company all hands or your team all hands, and so people really are motivated to kind of try and push themselves out of the box. In terms of tactically how we make that happen, when we do our kind of all, when I was talking about like getting brand and performance together, we have a biweekly meeting where we review everything that's happening on the web. We start with our experiments, see how they played out, discuss what worked, what didn't, plan our next ones for the next kind of sprint, and and go from there. We do use tooling like Mutiny right now to do rapid testing. I'm sure there are other tools that the team uses to put those plans into action, but we do talk about Mutiny a lot, and that's something that has helped us quite a bit.
Love it.
I know Sarah joked about not like celebrating losses, but I think especially for those of you in leadership positions, the way that you react to a loss is very much giving that permission to continue testing and to continue pushing. And one of the, I had a recent hypothesis of myself. I went to my CRO manager and was like, hey, we should run this because of these reasons, and it failed, and we laughed about it. I was like, okay, I'm not giving you test ideas anymore. But it's that, giving permission to, you do that on the front end and the back end when a loss does come back.
100%. I remember, God, this is 4 jobs ago now, but we hired a CRO manager, and it was our first time doing it. I was at this company called Paddy Power, and after the first 3 months, they were like, we ran 6 experiments, 5 of them won. We did an amazing job, and I was like, wait a second, 5 out of 6 won. That means that those were no-brainer things. Right? Actually, I think you need to swing harder. You need to maybe we just need to totally redesign the site from first principles and then test from there or something. And so, similar to that, sometimes the need for those little obvious tweaks is not what you really want. I'm sitting here actually stressing now because we just launched our new website. And we were like, yeah, no, we should A/B test this. That's absolutely right, Vlad. We're going to A/B test it. And then we came to it and we were like, wait a second. We're not going to go and redesign, reskin our old homepage, totally rebuild this new one. We're just going to launch it. And so if anybody could go to the website and convert right now, just to skew it up a little bit, that would be awesome. But it's terrifying. We're short on time, so one last question. If you could wave and this is a Webflow one. This is this is very self-serving. If you could wave your magic wand and have Webflow do one, you can go more than one, over the next 12 months, what would it be? And it doesn't even need to be product. It could be something else. But anything that you could ask for us as a team. Sarah, go ahead. Yeah.
I will say that I think being able to integrate with any kind of system we're using, like soup to nuts for our team, and just bringing everything into one platform so we can easily see, how something's performing from first visit all the way to the last page they might visit on the site. I know that we go through this ourselves at Attentive. We could build, there's so many MarTech partners to integrate to. It's hard to get to all of them, but I think the more that you guys build that out, the more complete view we'll have of our customer.
Alan, our CTO, will be very happy to hear that. He said today on stage, as a CTO, his favorite thing are APIs. He's a happy man that you said that. So we'll
there you go.
Yeah, we love it. Nathan, how about yourself?
I have 2. So, and you said we could have a few more. So
I've got a list here.
That's greedy.
They go hand in hand, which works really well. But I would love to see a customizable style of a collection. So whenever you're inputting the collections in the back, being able to not just go vertical, but also create columns and sections within the collections that you can designate to make it easier for editors and other designers to come in and know which each of those pieces and where they go on the page. Right. The second thing, caveat. So the reason for that is that ours get really, really long because we have multiple styles of a case study, and we have to use toggles to make it look different. The second part of that would be if we could create multiple templates for a single collection. So if I said, I want this template for this specific collection, and then I fill out those requirements, it automatically switches on the page. So I can do /blog and have multiple templates for a single blog post.
Love it.
Yeah.
Take a note.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Michael.
Most of mine is around design systems and permissions in relation to the different designs, different collections, and things like that. The component library is something we use very frequently. We kind of hack it a little bit to have it replicate the other template libraries that Webflow has to offer. It would be really nice to be able to build our own template library that we can then use I know there's been hints about like page builder mode and different things like that, and actually being able to build the bones of that, and yeah, have our own template library that we can pull in.
I told you about page builder mode secretly, and you just told 15,000 people. No, it's okay. It was my fault to ask the question, so it's all right. Thematically, they are all themes that we are working on, so that's good. I'm like the thing I'm most proud about the whole conference and this is no one mentioned AI. No, there's also AI stuff coming. But with that, thank you so much for all your time, and thank you everyone in the room and on the live stream. You've all been wonderful. I think that's a wrap.
All right.
That is it. Yeah, thank you.